You catch yourself saying it again, quietly, almost without noticing. Things will really begin after this. After the exams, after the move, after this strange in-between year is over. And somewhere beneath the sentence sits a question you have never quite asked out loud. When did you decide that the life you are living right now is only the rehearsal? A waiting room teaches you a whole way of sitting. You do not settle in. You perch. You keep your coat on. You do not learn the names of the people beside you. You glance at the door every time it opens. Nothing in the room is really yours, and nothing that happens there quite counts, because the real event is on the other side of the wall. Many of us have learned to sit in our entire lives this way. Coat on, eyes on the door, waiting for our name to be called. 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher watched people do exactly this and could not look away. Seneca wrote that the greatest waste of a life is postponement, that we guard our money and our property fiercely, yet hand out our days to anyone and anything, as if time were the one thing we had in endless supply. The line of his that cuts deepest is almost unbearably simple. While we wait for life, life passes. He was not describing lazy people. He was describing busy ones, people full of plans, whose plans all shared one quiet feature: they began tomorrow. There is a French mathematician who saw the same thing from another angle. Blaise Pascal noticed that we almost never actually inhabit the present. We wander in times that are not ours, he said, replaying the past, arranging the future, and the present, the only time that actually belongs to us. We treat as a means, a corridor, something to be gotten through on the way to somewhere else. His conclusion is one sentence, and it is the whole essay: we never live, but we hope to live. Read that slowly. Hoping to live is not a phase you pass through. For most people, Pascal thought, it is the permanent condition. Notice what the deferral actually says, though, because it never gives you a date. It gives you a threshold. After the degree, after the relationship, after the debt is cleared, the house is bought, the children are older. And here is the trick. The sleight of hand your own mind performs so smoothly you never see it, the threshold moves. You cross it, and the feeling of about to begin simply reattaches itself to the next thing. You got the degree. Did life start? You made the move. Are you living now? The waiting room, it turns out, has another waiting room behind it. The psychologists who followed Carl Jung had a name for this. Marie-Louise von Franz called it the provisional life, a way of being in which nothing you do is quite real to you, because the true life, the one that will finally fit, is always felt to be elsewhere, later, next. The person living provisionally is often gifted, often full of genuine promise. That is precisely the problem. The promise is so vivid that any actual, particular, flawed present-day life looks like a betrayal of it. So they hold back. They keep every option open. They stay, in some deep sense, unarrived. Here is the harder thing, the part that is less comfortable to say. The waiting room is not a trap you fell into. It is a shelter you built. Because if your real life has not begun, then nothing can be truly judged yet. Not your work, not your relationships, not you. The unstarted life cannot fail. Provisionality is a kind of insurance policy written against disappointment. As long as this is just the prologue, the story is still perfect because it is still imaginary. You are not waiting for your life. You are protecting your idea of it. What would it actually cost you to begin? It would cost you the other lives. To say, this is it. This city, this body, this work, these people, is to let 1,000 possible versions of yourself quietly die. That is a real grief, and no one should pretend otherwise. The provisional life postpones that grief indefinitely, but it pays for the postponement with something worse, a present that never receives your full weight, days you were technically present for, but never actually attended. The years in the waiting room are not stored somewhere, waiting to be refunded. That is the sober arithmetic underneath all of this. The evenings you half-lived while waiting for realer evenings were your evenings. The person you were while waiting to become yourself, That was you, and those were the days of your one life spent with your coat on. There is no door at the far end of the room. There is only the room, and how you decided to sit in it. Beginning, it turns out, is not an event. Nothing announces it. No one calls your name. Beginning is a posture, the opposite of perching. It is the decision to treat this day not as the corridor to your life, but as a room of it, maybe the only kind of room there is. Seneca again, with his terrible gentleness, you are dying daily. So the question is never when life will start, but whether you were present for the part of it that happened today. Look around the life you currently call temporary. The flat you never quite decorated because you will not be here long. The friendships you keep at half depth because this is not your real city. The work you do at 3/4 effort because it is not your real work. Choose one of them this week and treat it as if it counted. Hang the picture. Ask the deeper question. Do the thing properly. Not because it will optimize anything, but because the act itself is a message you send to yourself. I live here. This is not the waiting room. It never was. Your name was called a long time ago. It was called on an ordinary morning, without ceremony, and the life on the other side of the door turned out to be the one you were already standing in, unfinished, compromised, and entirely real. If this gave you something to sit with, that is what this channel is for. Small shifts in how you see your own life. I will see you in the next one.